Hey, George. So, are you up to doing something interesting today? Do you want to play it all? Do you want to play it all? Are you suspecting we're going to be taking a trip soon? Is that what's going on? Kitty, kitty. Hey, kitty. Everybody wants to see you, George, but you're kind of boring. You're not very interesting, are you? But he's a good kitty, aren't you, George? That's a good kitty. Kitty, kitty. George likes being rubbed on his head, just like that. Don't you, George? What, if you get too much in here? Nope, no good. Stick to my head, he says. Yeah, it's a good boy, George. Are we hoping for a good trip? I definitely am. And George likes sitting up here on the bed looking out the window. Or George will be on here on the doorstep, will not cross the threshold, but will just stay there all day. And we have Dottie is outside already. And in case you missed it, and I didn't say it, Travels with Dottie. And I am here on the 11th of March. It's March, not February. Why do I say that? Because I think the last time I said it was February when it was actually March. So Dottie, let's go for a little walk. I want to show you a couple things. A couple things that you may not understand about Quartzsite in the desert if you've never been here and watching videos. One is, you know, I always thought of desert as sand. Is there sand in Quartzsite? Yeah, of course there is. But it's underneath all these rocks. This is what the desert really looks like. But let's go in close to that. Rocks everywhere, little rocks. And then strewn all over the desert are bigger rocks, like I'll show you here. And people tell me, you know, the pitting and craters and stuff mean this is volcanic rock. And people generally use these to hold things down because a big deal in the desert is wind. They tend to blow things away. So, the other thing, you will hear a term quite often in the desert out here, and the term is washes. And you'll phrases like, oh, you can't get over that wash, or that's not a good wash to go through. Well, first, let me show you and explain exactly what a wash is. A wash in the desert is an area where water flows, where there is water drainage from rain in the mountains usually, but you know, rain, local rain too, but it's a drainage system for the desert. And they're marked by vegetation. Like there's vegetation here, and Dottie's peeing in the wash right now. And you can see the little divot here. It's like a little dried up creek. Now, washes become important when they become obstacles for travel in a vehicle. This one isn't so much. This is a flat wash, but let's look over here a little bit further. Come on, Dottie. Let's look at this wash over here. One of the things you may notice is some flowers and some green, which is unusual because we've had so much rain this winter that we've got some beautiful stuff happening. So this wash you can see is a little bit more treacherous in terms of an ability for a vehicle to go over it. You could still probably make it up. You see branches, there's a tree stump sticking up. Largely unknown stuff. But these are examples of very small, shallow washes. But up here, in kind of the rear entrance that we have where we go out to 95 in the vehicles, is going to be an example of a much larger, what large washes look like, and the reason you can't drive much through them. Now, this particular one, we drive our standalone vehicles like some tow cars, pickup trucks, but you will hardly ever see anyone pull an RV through this. Although I've seen it, and I couldn't believe it when I saw it. And they bang themselves up pretty good. But generally, the thicker the vegetation, the deeper and the more pronounced the wash is going to be. So as you notice here, we're coming up on some deep vegetation. One of those classic cactuses. They're so well known out here in the Sonoran Desert. So here's a road going through a wash. And in the desert and BLM land, you have lots of roads going through washes. Now keep in mind, you'll hear this over and over again in YouTubers' videos, inclines and depths are not well represented on video. But while you can drive your pickup truck or most cars through this, you do not want to drag something long through this. It will, you will create damage. So when people talk about the importance of washes, they're talking about washes of this size, and they're talking about washes that may make passage of some vehicles impassable. So what does that mean? Well, that means sometimes you have to drive quite a distance. Let's say you're driving along and there's a wash on your right, and I want to get over. My wash is on the right here. I want to get over there. How do I get over there? Well, I might have to travel a bit up this way to a part of the wash that is more level and is passable by my vehicle. My camp right here is actually very close to, it's within about a quarter of a mile of the front entrance to the LTVA. But to pull my rig back here, come on, Dot. Good girl. But to pull my rig back here, I have to travel well over a mile deep into the LTVA to get over enough flat washes, because it's 2 or 3 drainages or washes. I call them drainages, and that's what they call them back east when they're in the woods, but they're washes. I have to go over 2 or 3 washes to get to this camp, and they only become easily passable down past where the dump station and the garbage and water is. I go beyond that a quarter of a mile, make a right, and I double back after going over at least 2 shallow washes, and then I'm home free and I can drive straight up here. But I have to drive pretty far out of my way, which is why you drop a GPS coordinate in the desert where you like to camp and you drive here. You can't usually go straight to that coordinate. You've got to mind the washes. And look straight ahead there, and you'll see vegetation over there. That's a wash. And then you see a row of vegetation even beyond that. You may not, it's small on the screen, but every time you see vegetation, it's the sign of a wash. So, we're back home. We'll see how George did. George, look how excited George is that we're home. Oh, well. I'm trying to think of what else I can tell you about Quartzsite that doesn't get talked about very often. Oh, so somebody asked, when you get your permit and everything, do they assign you a spot? Absolutely not. You can park anywhere you want on the LTVA land. Hundreds and hundreds of acres. Look out there, you see all that land. You can park anywhere you want, except there's one rule. you got to be 15 feet away from another rig. That's the rule. Now, do people break those rules? The answer is yes, and here's the how and why of what they do it. If you look over at my friends here, they're pretty close. They're in a circle. However, they know each other and they're intentionally camping together. The purpose of the 15-foot rule is really for strangers. I suppose it's possible that you could be within 5 feet of a stranger and, a camp host will come up and say, you can't do that, you have to move 15 feet away, because the rule doesn't say 15 feet except of your friends. It doesn't. But I've never heard about people camping together getting pushback for camping closer. So that said, the rule is you can camp anywhere you want out here, just be 15 feet away from other campers. Does that mean it's okay to get a tape measure out and measure 15 feet from a stranger and just park there? Well, technically, you can do that. And it's not a violation of the rules, so no official can tell you to move, but you're going to be upsetting that camper, likely causing him to do one or two things, probably both. One is to ask you to move further away for his comfort and safety. And they absolutely could just pick up their camp and move somewhere else, which is my go-to. If I get somebody too close to me and it seems strange and they're not engaging with me in any way, I'll pack up and move. I haven't had to do it, but I'm ready to do it. And that's what I would do to avoid any kind of confrontation. So while the rule is 15 feet, you want to give, I get it that you come out here and you don't want to be completely isolated, but you want to be, a good distance away. What's a good number? I would say, at least a couple of 100 feet. There's plenty of room out here, guys. There's plenty of room. But I got to tell you what the ideal situation is. Getting to know people and camping in a group like I do every year and many, many, many others do. When you first come through here or you see film footage of the desert, you're going to see clumps of RVs together, and those are people that choose to camp together, and that's really the best way to do this thing. That said, there are exceptions. There are people that really want solitude, and there's plenty of room for that out here. And they have their solitude, and when they want to be around people, they go to the people, but they camp in solitude. That's totally acceptable. There are unwritten rules about not just BLM, but really camping anywhere in the nomad community. And one of the rules is you don't come up and knock on someone's door. Doesn't that seem odd? But that is, in the nomad community, it has to do with the idea that when you're living on the road full time, and generally a knock means someone has a complaint, it's law enforcement, someone telling you to move. A knock occurs often as punitive, and it also can be kind of invasive. So what do we do? Well, one universal sign that it's okay to come up and talk is if someone has their door open. The other thing is almost everybody has cell phones. You send your friend a text and say, hey, mind if I come over? Or alternatively, you can call from a distance about 20 feet away. Hey, Rob, are you available? And if I don't answer, then the answer is no, because I could be in a meeting, I could be indisposed in the bathroom. When I mean anyone could be in the camper but not able to easily answer you, so that's a no. I may say now's not a good time. That's a definite no. Or more likely, I'll show up in the doorway and say, hey, how you doing? Come on in. So that's kind of an unwritten rule of nomad life that full-timers tend to follow pretty regularly. Part-timers don't really understand it much. You know, my door gets knocked on pretty regularly in camp, so that it's not a big deal, but it is kind of an unwritten rule in the nomad community. I'm trying to think of what else you might find interesting. If you come out here and you have a dog, try to get one of these elevated beds. You see Dottie's bed there? It's on legs, and I have a little dollar store bath mat on it. And you know, Dottie will lay on the outdoor carpet here, but it's very, look at that's all those rocks and stones. It's very uncomfortable, and there's lots of little critters, and you don't want them crawling all over your dog. So try to get one of these elevated beds or something soft. Even a piece of carpet that you could stake down or put rocks on, just something soft for your dog. And these outdoor carpets are great. What you don't see from here is I have big old stakes that like giant nails driven in about one in each corner, a couple on each side, so that's 4, like 8 stakes driven into the ground. Otherwise, this carpet would not be here. It would fly away in the wind, and I'd never see it again. So it's got to be staked down. Let's see what else. Look here, you can see I have a hummingbird feeder, and it's a little bit of a problem in the desert because there are no trees around me to hang it. So on Amazon I bought one, and I think they call them shepherd hooks. But yeah, all winter long there are hummingbirds, and I sit here and I watch them, and I love watching hummingbirds. And that shepherd hook comes apart, screws apart, breaks down. I can put it in the back of my truck. Of course, store away the bird feeder. And when I go to New Mexico, they have a lot more. In the summer there, they have tons and tons of hummingbirds. And Dottie, look, I just noticed a big old rip in the what do you call it? The outdoor carpet. That's new. I probably did that moving something heavy and not paying attention and not being careful. Tim would tell me. Tim's gone. He's down with some friends, and pretty soon he'll head north to his to lower temperatures. But Tim would tell me, Rob, you got to be careful. Be careful. Move slowly. Think. Because I tend to be a little impulsive. And when you're impulsive, you do things like rip holes in your outdoor carpet. You know, I don't have much sitting out here anymore, but one of the things I have is I like these rocking chairs. You see the pistons on the back of that chair? Let's take a closer look. These are very popular things. This is called the Freestyle Rocker XL. So it's got these pistons. So, you know, when I sit in it, it's got nice support, and I can kind of rock back and forth and shift my position, and it's very comfortable. Right, Dottie? Dottie followed me over here. It's very strange sitting out here looking straight off across the desert, because normally all winter I'd be staring at the side of Tim's rig, but not anymore. Hey, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, do you see all these rocks over here? This is not natural, is it? Well, let's talk about rock formations out in the LTVA and BLM that don't look natural. People gather rocks and they do things with them. This structure was done the first year I was here with Bob and Pearl from Next Exit. They had their rally here, and this is where my retirement began, there was a big rally. This whole area had almost 100 coaches in it. We were all together. And this was a giant fire pit. You can see the remnants of many, many campfires. And when we have a campfire out here, in the peak attendance, we would have maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 campfires going, and this would be completely surrounded with people in chairs. So they collected these rocks, and it stayed here for years. No one's moved them. Now, there are other things. People use these rocks to designate out their campsite. You'll see rigs out here that seem to have a yard defined by rocks. And does that mean that it belongs to them? Of course not. Does that mean you can't camp within those rocks if you're 15 feet away from their camp? No, you can, but it would lead to inevitable conflict. Does it mean if there's an outline of a campsite and there's no one camped there that you can't camp there? No. Nope, there's no saving. So if you see a real fancy one that you like and there's no one parked in it, it's yours. What we got here is my friend Cheryl. And who is that dog? That's Clover. Cheryl and Clover. I was just explaining to people a few things that people really may not understand before they get here, like what's a wash?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what are the different kinds of washes? I talked about this one being, this is a real shallow wash,
Yeah.
and it's not really all that relevant to traveling in the desert because you could pull anything over this, but if you get to the big wash, you don't want to be pulling your RV over it.
No, and you don't want to park too close to them either.
Yeah, tell me about that. Why don't we want to park close to?
Well, I have seen in the years that I've been out here heavy rains.
Yeah.
And the washes that are empty become raging rivers with heavy rains.
So it can be dangerous.
It can be very dangerous. I mean, if your rig is too close, I mean, you could end up.
And you've been coming out here for what, 10, 15 minutes or something? How long have you been coming out here?
5 years.
Only 5 years, huh? Well, the other thing is that there are critters that live in the washes too, if you park too close to them.
Right. This time of year too, now everything is turning green and blooming, and got to watch out for snakes now.
Oh yeah, yeah. Clover, have you seen any snakes?
Tell Uncle Rob, come here.
Hey, Clover, come here. Tell me, have you seen any snakes?
You seen snakes?
Have you seen snakes? No snakes?
No snakes?
No snakes.
We've not seen snakes, but we haven't been going real deep into the high stuff.
Yeah. But it's colorful now with all the flowers and all the moisture we've had this winter.
It's absolutely beautiful. There's purple flowers and yellow flowers. And it's just amazing.
Now, Cheryl's fully retired, and so she's been sitting here on her couch doing nothing for like 4 months, right, Cheryl?
Right.
But she's about to go back to work because she's going to be a camp host in Tennessee, and if you want to see her, the car park in Tennessee is called what?
Tim's Ford State Park.
Tim's Ford State Park, and she will be one of the camp hosts there, probably the head camp host, I think.
At the main campground at Fairview.
Okay.
So it's right on the lake. It's beautiful.
And you'll be there from when to when?
1st of May through fall, early fall.
Well, I've been a camp host, and it can be pretty hard work. It's very rewarding if you like people, but it's hard work.
It is.
It is hard work.
But I love it. It gives you some self-worth. It'd be sitting on the couch all summer.
After sitting on the, like you did all here, she was just like, came finding her. She's like on the couch watching TV.
Watching videos.
Watching videos. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Right, Clover? Cheryl's very active. She's always doing something. Lifting stuff up into her generator, into the back of her truck, her bike into the back of her truck.
Yeah, got the bruises to prove it.
Yeah, bruises all over her.
Well, walk about 2 to 3 miles a day, me and Clover, just out here in the desert. I mean, you can really get a lot of exercise out here.
Just being a nomad, just to maintain your equipment requires a lot of energy and activity.
Hauling water, jumping tanks, I do all of that. I don't have anybody to do that for me. So, so you stay busy. You would think you do sit on the couch, but really every day there's chores to be done.
You bet, you bet.
So, and I'm going to miss you. You're going to be leaving pretty soon.
Wednesday morning.
Oh, I'm going to cry.
Oh, well, we'll see each other again in the fall.
The road, yeah.
We'll see each other in the fall.
We might run into each other in New Mexico.
Maybe, yeah.
You never know where this nomad life takes us.
All right, well, I see another victim over there. I see Denny.
All right.
See you later.
All right.
Hello. I was just testing my sound levels. I apologize. I should have just brought that second microphone out with me, but I did not intend on interviewing anybody, so I didn't bring that second microphone. So I hope it picked her up okay. And I thought I saw Denny sitting over here, but it wasn't Denny, it was his stuff in a pile. It's standing up against the wind from yesterday, I guess. And there's Dottie, still at the campsite, behaving herself, sitting in the sun. Here's the other strange thing about the desert here. I'm just about to feel it. So right now, I guess, and it's probably just about hitting 70 degrees. It's still early. It's almost 10 o'clock. In the morning, and I'm gonna guess it's about 67 is my estimate for the temperature, but I bet it's about 55. It feels about 55 right now in the shade, but if I were to when I go out in the sun there, it feels like about 80 if I'm sitting in a place where the breeze is blocked. So it's funny, you'll be sitting out and you'll just be unbearably too hot, and you move into the shade and need a coat. It's very odd the way you experience heat and cold in the summer. So we do have a hummingbird, and I'm going to try to slowly sneak up on him because this is such a wide angle lens. You're probably not going to see him, but I'm going to go real slow and be quiet. Hello, little guy. Ah, scared him away. I hope you got to see him. Thank goodness Dottie doesn't care about hummingbirds, so Dottie doesn't scare him away. So guys, that is today's video, and I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you watching me, listening to me. I will see you on the next one. Take care.